episode of Three Wise DMs, the podcast for three dungeon masters. We've been doing this for way too long. Talk about all the things we do to try to make our games as good as they can be.
Hi, I'm Tony.
I'm Chris.
Here I am once again. I'm torn into pieces, can't deny it, can't pretend. Just thought you were the one broken up deep inside, but you won't get to see the tears I cry behind these hazel eyes. Woo! I bet none of you know what that is.
Kelly Clarkson.
It was Kelly
Ding,
Clarkson.
ding, ding. Yeah, dude, behind these hazel eyes. That's my girl Kelly, dude. Why the hell would I ever sing that one?
Please explain it to us.
Yes,
Because, hello everyone again. Welcome back to another episode of Three Wise DMs here. So that was Kelly Clarkson behind these hazel eyes, because today we're actually going to talk about something we were starting to discuss on our own, which is what's important behind your DM screen. What do you have? What do you need? We actually saw, just after we were talking about it, somebody posted online somewhere about, hey, what do you have behind your DM screen? Here's a picture of mine. What do you think? You know, so it was very fortuitous. So I think it's something that a lot of us think about. And there we go. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm excited to talk about this because Dave had a dream which built up to this.
Yeah, there's like some Beatles lore stuff. Yes.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Yes.
Beatles
What was my
today.
dream?
You took all these vitamins and had a crazy dream.
I did.
Gary Gygax spoke to him.
Yeah, my doctor has me on a vitamin D one because, like, I'm just a white dude, so, like, I need vitamin D.
Not a lot of D.
Well, I have a lot of D, but not vitamin D. Thank God.
We'll edit that.
No, that's why we are an explicitly labeled podcast. But yeah, I took this. It's a D3 that I drop under my tongue, and everyone that takes this, they say you get these crazy ass Spielberg level dreams, and you really do. They're very vivid. I don't know what it is, but it's a thing. And then I had the dream, and what was it? I think I just came up with the idea that we were like, oh, what's behind your DM screen? That's our new episode or something like that. Was that
Gary, Tracy, and Laura Hickman were all together.
I don't know if
they're like, Dave.
Yeah, it wasn't as awesome as the Futurama's episode where
you jumped forward in time and found us that green.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that is my that's what happened.
So I mean, normally behind DM
Totally
screens, like
forgot
what are we talking about? You have the rules for cover, dying, conditions, what you could buy in a town. I don't have those things as handy because also I'm not really a fan of a DM screen. Everything I do is on the table, but
Yeah.
from my behind the screen notes on like one of my electronic devices are things I want to drop into the game that may be unexpected. What I mean by that. So if you guys go, you know what? Like we were in the Wolves territory in Ragnarok. And so, I want to go exploring. Okay, I got you. I've got some names, I've got some monsters, and I've got some treasure. So the way I could justify this, besides, of course, giving everybody a degree of autonomy and agency, is that I could then find a way to drop in some lore which pertains to the game. So this moves the story forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I have my outline. Thank you, Mike Shea. Like, that's my main thing there. But from that, I have a good way to track initiative, especially if you're live. You want to have a good way so that you have it right up in front of you, because it can get confusing, right? And you can miss guys.
I screw that up all the time.
Yeah, but I also think, behind the DM screen, it's not just necessarily the physical area behind there, but how you prepare. Like, I watch a lot of specific movies, like a lot of like The Sword and the Sorcerer and old Sinbad movies and stuff for
great.
ideas.
Yeah.
Different source books like Lord of the Rings or older systems like OSR, and finding inspiration there and trying to bring it there. So it's not just, obviously you have to have a good setup behind there, but it's what you bring to there and how you kind of develop behind the screen.
Oh, absolutely. That is, that's kind of the start of it. And that's actually, Tony, back to something you said, because I think the first question is, do you even use a screen?
Nope.
And you don't.
Nope.
I love the DM screen. I have Bonnie had gotten me a custom one
It's handsome.
for
It is
like
very
Christmas 2 years ago, all wood carved and stuff. So like I want to put it out there because it's awesome looking. I like a screen for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is like, even more than the D20, I think the screen is like the most D&D thing there. Like when you see a screen up, if you see a picture that's drawn with a screen, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right?
No.
Like, it's literally the most quintessential D&D thing. So I love it. Not the least of which we'll get into later, what's back behind there. But I know, Tony, you don't. Chris, you do, but do you, like, is it like me, where you love the goddamn thing?
I understand. I think you have to see somebody with the screen. Sometimes if it's just completely open, there has to be a person at the head of the table there. So you have to have some level of things. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. There's times where I'm concerned about hiding this stuff, but a lot of times not so concerned. I think one of the cool things about the DM screen is just that additional, like, separation dimension for you to be able to hang stuff there. So you get an additional sort of, like, I use it a little bit with the computer, which is sort of a half DM screen, but you get additional spots for tables or stuff you want to hang there. So for something like that, it's cool. But I mean, I think it's still, that's like the 1E to 5E thing where there's that secrecy between the DM and the player. Now we've kind of gotten a little bit more story edited and collaborative. So it doesn't, there doesn't have to be the separation, but it is iconic and it does kind of it makes you feel like you're like, hey, I'm the DM, right? Like there's something very, As a small history aside with that, that's actually funny because we think about that separation. The original game, though, like they tell stories with Arneson where he literally would have, like, if you took like a Monopoly board and put it long ways up, he would have that. You wouldn't even see them. You would just hear the voice of the DM, and they were rolling all the stuff back there too. So talk about this surreal separation of things, But to that, the DM screen also, it gives you that ability to hide certain things. Like for me, one of the things that, depending on the game, because that's the thing too, what's behind my DM screen changes for the campaign I'm running and how much of it I'm running. We've talked about how, in the Dragonlance campaign, I have the terrain wrangler. I have Scott running most of the terrain stuff for me because he loves doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. And then I have super cool terrain and I don't got to worry about it. So he has the monsters, he has the minis, he's got the figs, he's got the terrain. So I ask him to bring that out then. For me, if I'm running the girls game, where I'm running them currently through Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, they're like a pirate crew kind of thing. They wanted to be on a ship. So, but for that, I'm running it all. So I'm putting out the maps, I'm putting out the minis, and I use the Pathfinder pawns still, the little paper ones. I have all of those back behind there. And I need them to be hidden because you don't want to know, we're going to see 8 goblins, 4 kobolds, and an owlbear. Okay, cool. When do they come out? So I want that separation of that. I want to be able to, I do actually use sometimes certain things that I pin up or I magnet up behind the DM screen. I use certain charts back there depending, for the OSR game, I took all their DM screen stuff and put it back there because I needed to know, especially when an owlbear saves at fighter level 1. I'm like, what the fuck are the fighter saving throws?
They're terrible. Right? That's easy. Did he roll a 17? Then he's screwed.
Yeah.
He's screwed.
But yeah, kind of depending on the game.
Don't even joke.
But depending on the game, so I'll have my figs back there. I'll have maybe charts. A lot of games, I have my name generator. I have my random names, which has been tough for Dragonlance because they don't have a set naming convention, unfortunately. And then I have all my session notes. And I don't want the players to necessarily see those, and that way I can have everything out. And there is that separation. So there's still that I don't know what's coming type of thing.
Right, because it is a story that's being generated by the dice, and we're all going to find out, which is why I don't like to hide my dice, because I'm like, wow, I got an at 20. Sorry, Dave, that's D4 limbs. I want that on the table so we can all see. Or when my boss tanks the save on a 1, I'm not just cheesing it. It really... Everybody look at this frozen die I just threw it out here. My boss is now going down like my computer did in college. It's finished. Because all my stuff is now on an electronic device, it's all baked into my module back and forth.
Your laptop is, there's an argument to be made that your laptop, the way you run right now when we're live, right? I mean, it's a little different when we're Roll20 and then the internet is your DM screen, because good luck finding anything that I have at my house, right?
Sure.
But your laptop is your DM screen, because all of your stuff is there. No one can see it.
Right.
Until you, have your tablet out to show us what the next thing is, and then you still have some of it showing on the bottom.
So Chris, this will be cool, where he's got a dual monitor effect, where he's got a laptop and a screen.
Yeah.
I've got my iPad out, and I got my laptop behind it. So I'll put up a Google Docs, and I can move in the module where I've put my clip art. And then all my stats and everything's all baked into the module. I did a poem last game. Thank God I didn't have to do that by memory, or I'm fumbling through all these pages. I'm turning them like, oh, where's my poem? In 4E, I'd have like a stack, like a thick stack of freaking monster sheets with all their abilities, and I'd constantly be shuffling through them. And that's just a pain. I put them all on the encounter. They're on a block. They're on the screen. They're right there.
No, definitely. I think the computer adds a level of ease to it and stuff like that. And I mean, access to almost everything, right? You can immediately go out and things. You don't have to go flipping through the book. There's something to flipping through the book, though, too. But I think the laptop definitely is the new, idea of the DM screen. But I also like the idea of Tony's game. I think that's the DM screen. There is an element to it, but there's an element to where now there is a bit more sharing, where now you show the roles to the players and stuff like that. I like that because you kind of started talking about it. Originally, like I would, as a DM, I'd roll for everything.
I would roll your perception, your thieves skills.
Which you could argue there's something to it. But
I actually kind of like it, especially the OSR. Not to cut you off there, but the OSR... Which, funny enough, guys, this is all, obviously we pre-record here, but just as a little aside, Chris is going to be running my birthday game. We're doing another OSR game, which you are now listening to from 2 weeks ago about our review of the OSR. So obviously we liked it enough that now it's a thing. So
give him 31 damage.
But yeah, like thieves and stuff like that, you're not rolling it. I let you roll it as the thief because it was just easier, but I kind of like that idea. And they even have that in 5e with perception rolls and stuff like that, because when you roll and it's crap, and they say, no, you don't see anything, do I not see anything? Or, so it gives that meta knowledge. That
there is, I think, but it can be good, but it can also be somewhat, it can interfere with the collaborative part of the storytelling, is that it's like it's our version of the story. So I'm providing you with all the key details, but all this stuff that happens in there can be somewhat mutable there. So I think it's and I was getting back to Tony. One of the things that I'd like to have behind my DM screen, even though it's not, it's usually on a laptop or something, is a set of visuals, right? I think terrain and everything is good, but food for thought. It's easy I can sit here and describe, and we can all be perfect theater of their mind people.
No.
But in the end, I want to throw up some, not just any picture, but dramatic pictures that are, and then all of a sudden it draws everybody's eye, and then you can talk about it a little bit, but I don't need to be listening so closely. I'm getting some visual input as well, and I think that really helps.
It absolutely
to kind of make it a lot easier for you to get things across. And I feel better when I have a decent amount of images that I can share, because I don't feel as responsible for being the grand storyteller and describer of my world.
It's absolutely true. We are a visual people, and we just have to accept that at this point, I think. Like, especially with the level of multimedia stuff that's out there. So, the same reason I did it in the Dragonlance campaign, I took the time when you guys came to Calaman and you were going to meet the city council members, the guild masters, and the governor and Marshal Vendry. These were people you were going to have a lot of contact with. So I went through and I made little pawns of headshots of the council. And when you guys met them, I put it out there. Like it was a little corny, but I put them out there in a little ring in front of the table. But as I introduced them, you saw what Governor Miat looks like. You saw what Marshal Vendry looks like. And for me, that definitely creates something a little bit more that brings you into, this is important. I got to pay attention here. Tony, we were just talking about this pre-cast. Once you put out anything that is a visual, everyone goes, oh, there's probably something very important here. Like, you're paying attention to the game, but you come in and out because we're human beings, right? But you put something out and you're like, oh, what's this? Who's this? So, like, that's something, depending on the game, I'm going to have set back there for what I'm going to do. But again, I like to have that kind of stuff. It's where I need it back here. No one knows it's there. No one knows what's coming, and I can just drop these things out,
So I have a different room where I've got a folding table set up, and all my scenes are in like little different boxes. So I bring them out, scene 1, scene 2, until we go down the line. I think, Chris, you're onto something there. I feel everybody's lore tolerance is a couple of sentences on the description. Even a really vivid description. Like, I don't want to hear you go on for like 20 lines about it. Like, how about now I can interact with it? Like, no, and the wallpaper. Yeah. Let's get into the scene now. So you throw out the art, you throw out a visual of some form, whether it be your figurines or what's on the table, or a combination of the words and the art. But it draws the people in there for sure. What's behind my DM screen often is a playlist. I like music being set in the background. When I first started my Journey to Ragnarok campaign, I was managing it too hard. I had too many different tracks. I'm jumping in between back and forth.
Moods. Like,
yeah.
Too much of a job at that point. But
right?
it does add
this is my exploration playlist. Hold on.
Yeah, so what I recommend is you find about 3 big blocks of sound. Move through them throughout the whole game, and then in the final confrontation or the tense moment, you got something set up for that.
Yeah. I do like I love the music idea that you brought in, because it's something that I have thought about at times.
You guys are music people. So
I've tried to do it, and like I've made it a point many times that I'm a huge fan of Matt Mercer, and he does sound awesome. He has a whole like mixing board back there. The dude's, I mean, if you guys want to see what a cool DM setup looks like, go watch his Gamemaster tips video. It's good. It gives you an idea, at least what he puts together. And I've tried to put music in before, but it's just, for me, it's that one more thing now that I'm managing. I haven't found a way, and I've used Sirenscape and a lot of the other ones that people like, and I haven't found a way to. I'm also doing this, and I can't juggle all of them, for me.
I think it ends up being like where Tony ended up. And even I'll start to drop some in now during the Dragonlance games. And it's
I have a music wrangler now, too.
It's find a playlist on Spotify and let it go. And very often you'll find it, and it's the battle, and it's exciting stuff. And then other things are happening, but you don't... It adds a little something, but as long as you're not spending that much time paying attention to it, it adds a little bit of flavor.
Play, and it goes.
And so you don't have to go too deep into it, but just that little bit of spice adds an element of suspense. It's a huge part of Tony's games. Like, I want to start introducing it in
I kind of do. And it's funny, I actually went on Spotify. There is a Dragonlance playlist. So I started listening through to be like, what is this good
and
stuff?
You get all the Lord of the Rings stuff in there, and everything, and you just you can let it play in the background, and it's enough, and it's inspiring, just like the pictures, and it's just extra food, so that you're not carrying this huge bag in there of all of this stuff. Like you're
don't be the meme of The Rock carrying that huge like briefcase thing that he carries it, right? Well, back to just a little quick thing about the scene description and that a picture is truly worth, thousands of words, not just 1,000.
Or at least the players remembering where they are.
No doubt. Because, one, just like we know from reading books and then seeing something adapted to the screen, everyone reading a book, like I'm reading the Stormlight Archives right now, and my concept of, like, the Alethi, anyone who's reading it, whatever, they're actually supposed to be more Persian. I am not seeing the main guy, Dalinar, as this Persian guy. I get it, but the only vision I get of him is like my concept of like, if for Dragonlance, like Stern Brightblade, or the way Sir Scar in the Curse of Strahd. A little bit longer, scraggly hair, a beard, a mustache, that kind of look. Totally not that. But if I had a picture that immediately came up of Dalinar, I cannot now see Gandalf as not Sir Ian McKellen. It does not work, right?
That is the danger.
But it's the danger, but it's also the good thing. Because you have, just as a little aside, I saw somebody posted on one of the Curse of Strahd Facebook pages that I'm on. And I didn't want to get on there and like dissuade this burgeoning DM from their growth process.
But they were trying to redeem Strahd, and you're like...
No. They started talking about that. There's a part in Curse of Strahd, unfortunately you guys didn't get to it, the March of the Dead. I was trying to work it in as points, but it's in essence, it shows you the souls make the march from the village of Barovia to Castle Ravenloft each night at midnight. And they get destroyed. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. And there were several points where I was about to introduce it, but like you guys like turned left or whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to force this. And they were saying on the post that they felt like there wasn't enough like gravitas to the text of it, which it's, the text box it's 3 sentences about it. It's cool, right? Mm-hmm. So they wrote in the post what they had, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful narrative. Mm-hmm. If they were in the authors group, I would have been like, this is great. Keep going. Your players have heard 3 sentences of that, of your 3-paragraph monologue that you just dropped out. I think you can get away with it on, like when I do when last we left our heroes and I give you that little 1 minute intro, you do the same thing beforehand where we have it prepared. Boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. You have my attention because it's a fresh session. Mid-session, man, I got 17 other things that I'm trying to do with the game. But if I threw a picture out of the March of the Dead, boom, and then a couple pieces of little like prose text, forget about it. You have that March of the Dead in your brain all day now.
Yes. No, unless I'm reading the March of the Dead, it's difficult for me to listen to someone like an audiobook.
Unless I'm
because I'm actively engaged, so I'm listening. I'm actively listening for like, oh, that's a clue. Oh, that's something I need to pay attention to. But it's get back to the thing. It's funny. A story. The Stand, the TV show from the Stephen King thing.
There's a few
the original TV show from way back, Gary Sinise level.
Yes.
All right.
Specifically,
with what's his face?
I read The Stand, and I love The Stand. Right? It was like
it's an attorney.
Yeah. Then I saw The Stand TV show with Gary Sinise, and now it's Gary Sinise in the book. Anytime that I think about the book or read the book, I can't ever picture what he was before. He is now Gary Sinise forever forward. Like every time I read it, I'm like, oh, that's Gary Sinise, right? Like, and I don't know why.
And you hear it in his voice.
I do it.
And his mannerisms.
Voice, the Ian McClellan thing. Like, there's something. But I think it's, especially when you're not writing a novel and you're telling a collaborative story. These are powerful tools because go ahead and use a little bit of that. If you want to think of the wizard as Ian McClellan, good, because I don't have to sit here and spend 10 minutes describing him. It doesn't matter so much in my world. If he has an eye patch or something important, I'm going to draw attention to that, but I'm not going to talk, and the more flowery description, I'll throw a quick picture up there and it'll be like, oh, Gandalf steps into the room
it fixes everyone at the table. They don't all have 6 versions of this character. They have that version. Yeah. And then anytime you bring them up, that's who's there. I know
who this is. Yes, I've seen him.
That's good. It's good to be on the same page. I may be mistaken. We just watched The Unexpected Journey again, and I'm not saying I'm too deep in this Nordic mythology I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure he put the rune of wealth on the door.
On the door. I don't know what the rune was, but probably. I mean, Tolkien had brought all of that stuff from original language.
It was that Gandalf. Like within the first couple pages, just throwing graffiti on his door, like carving up his nice wooden door. Like, couldn't you just post a note or something like that?
Maybe give a brother a heads up. Hey, you're a thief. Play along. Like instead of like
it worked.
I'm just going to throw it out. I'm going to throw it out.
That was the funniest part, is just carving his door up.
I appreciate Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins very much. I didn't mind them. Did we need to have the entire chapter of the dinner, Unexpected Visitors, be like half of a movie? I'm sorry.
Well, that's what happens when you have something that should have been 2 movies into 3. Yes. There you go. Lord. So your block text should not be 5 miles long. That's where I'm going with that.
Absolutely. No, you can't. You can't. But block text is important in my mind, and I have started to do that. It's one of the things, Chris, you said, the session notes. That is one thing that needs to be back there. Obviously, that's a number one thing that is back behind the screen. But scenes, if you're setting a scene, if they're arriving at a place, if there's a very special NPC, something like that, put something there that you don't have to read it verbatim, but it's there because in the midst, we were just talking about this when you got here today, that I get real janky sometimes when I'm right in the midst of it, and I'm like, and the thing, and they're like the wall. I'm like, yeah, that thing. Like
it's long and tall,
as verbose as I can be, and flowery language, and all of this, and then I sound like an idiot when I'm actually role playing it, unless I have something written down.
So with having we're on the same page, especially with written material, I'm a super huge fan of my art. Is I'm doing screenshotting stuff out of the PDFs. I'm like, what does this person look like? Psst, right there. That's what they look like.
When you're bringing that out, that's all stuff from the Journey to Ragnarok
that's the official
setting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love when they give that kind of stuff. Like I've used that obviously for I used nothing but it for Curse of Strahd because we were Roll20. So, as much as we love the live games, we were just talking about, because Tony got here early. You guys don't know about Tony time yet, but
I arrive exactly when I intend to.
Yeah, it's like a wizard. Never early or late. So when Tony did get here, though, today we were talking about, amongst other things, about how we would love, like, as much as we love the live gaming, because we're back to it, and like we're all like, no Roll20. other than Tuesday nights, right? Whatever. But like, no Roll20, we're live, we're there, we're rolling dice, so much better, right? And then we're like, man, I love just being able to find a map and throw it up. Like, and now I'm like, now I'm building crap, I'm printing things out,
I'm carving tiles.
You know, so like outside of like when I did Curse of Strahd, I was able to throw up all of the module art plus stuff that I found online just to make even more, because that really does add those levels of dimension to it. But there is something to be said to have something there, whether you're doing, like I said, like I had the little city council members out, but a picture there, and you have that behind your screen. Or like you guys have been using the tablets, which is a great idea. Like, why not use the digital mediums to your advantage in that way?
Yeah, and I was looking for a Valkyrie for one of my games, and apparently there's no official 5e Valkyries. Like, how is this possible?
Oh, bro, you should have used the old Valkyrie from, like, the 80s Marvel, dude. I don't know if
that might have worked. I could have got the hero click. That was an idea.
We would have Chris and I would have probably lost it.
Oh, yeah, it's actually Valkyrie.
Yeah, I'm contacting someone from Etsy who's in Canada, and it's in stock. What I mean is, I can make it. It'll be here in 6 weeks, like your birthday gift.
But that birthday gift's here now, so now...
but I'd say
Halloween game.
Behind the screen, too, but also think about it from as a road DM, as a seasoned road DM, what you could bring on the road.
A road DM, I love it, dude.
What I'm saying, what you could bring to somewhere else and set up,
yes,
and be comfortable there, which changes the thing. Well, like it's funny, like on Roll20, like the world is my DM screen, right?
Oh,
like
my God.
Basically, like you're just staring at my face. I have stuff all over. I got books here and everywhere, right?
Plus, I could have 19 screens open. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's just like I don't know. It's just having to like get up for this game and figure out each of the things and load them up in a specific order. I mean, you have to do it when you're setting up beforehand too, and then I got to transport them, and I had to think the good thing behind your DM screen is a method of storage for all of your stuff, so that you can get like your dice here, you've got your terrain pieces here if you're bringing them with you, those kind of things, because it makes it easier to bust them out separately. Like I have them separated in individual bags and ways like that, so that it's easier just to kind of drop things out there, and you're not spending a whole lot of time preparing that. It's all prepared beforehand when you get there.
No, again, another Three Wise DM trademark, dude. Road DM. That's a good point, because there is definitely a difference with your DM screen. I DM at my house for the most part. There's times when you don't, right? But like Chris is running a game today for us when we're done here. He's over here at my place, so he has to road DM himself all the way over here, and that's going to change. I have access to whatever I need right upstairs. Boom, and I just bring it downstairs. If I'm coming over and doing it somewhere else, I would absolutely be streamlining. Whether you have a physical screen or a digital screen, like Tony does and Chris uses, what are the essentials? If you were going to, like, let's say, what's the essential for road DMing? If you're on the road, what are you absolutely going to bring?
Something that gets me access to Google and Google Docs, because
a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, anything crazy. Anyone's going to ask me about a scimitar, a firebolt.
No campfire D&D sessions.
Well, because anything anybody could possibly ask in a search, you could throw in there. It's blank and 5e, and you're going to get an answer instantaneously. And that's what's so great about it.
It's the first thing that comes up.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so available versus previously when we started this, I've got different apps and I'm like at different notes and stuff, and it's all written down. Come on, back in the day, we'd have to pull out a book and go dig through that. And you know what? That's great that it was there, but you know, that's holding up the game. I remember like when I was doing this with Thorn in 4E, how does this work? Well, let me get the book out. I'm digging through it and I'm going to find the page and make an interpretation versus, oh, this is it and here's the interpretation. Does it really work like that?
Oh, sage advice.
Yeah, sage advice. Yeah, it works like that. Okay, there it is.
Oh, well.
No, I think the internet is a wonderful tool, but I mean, I think you need your session notes and some dice. I mean, really behind your screen. And then everything else that you feel adds to that. But it's all going to stem from that. Like the preparation that you have in your session notes, the idea that you have, and the rolls of the dice. And then I add in pretty terrain or better pictures of the creatures or interesting visual features. But I mean, conceivably, like I should be able to come in here we could all be here with notepads and a dice and maybe some graph paper.
Did it for years.
Yeah. And we should be able to get pretty close, you know what I'm saying? Pretty authentic kind of things. We just sort of add some cool spice. It's like that. You have the hamburger, then you go to the other place, and you're like, ooh, boy, you added a little bit of paprika in there.
Why am I not using this?
And then now I add a little paprika here, a little onion, or something like that, and you start to add all these other features. But in the end, I mean, all you really need is like pencil, paper, and some dice. You know,
that is totally.
You can grow out of that, like grow up from that.
Yeah, like primarily. If you have that part, then the rest of it will work, right? If you have the main session notes and all that ready, then the rest of it is just stuff on top that kind of helps to make your job a little bit easier.
The quick story time that has nothing to do with D&D, but everything to do with what you just said. We were back in band days when we were on tour. We were down in Sarasota, Florida, and Johnny and I, the singer, were out trying to get something to eat, and we stopped at this little tiny like Italian like sandwich joint, right? And the guy, like, you know, whatever. And I don't know, 20-something, you know, I'm early 20s. And we get some turkey hoagies or something, right? So what's on a turkey hoagie? Lettuce, tomato, onion, turkey, cheese,
hopefully turkey,
mayo, a nice roll, boom, right? Yeah, no. This dude rolls out some creamy Italian dressing on it and blew our goddamn minds when we ate it, and then toasted it too. So he was like before Quiznos, right? But he toasted it with this like creamy Italian dressing instead of the mayo, dude. I swear to God, I put creamy Italian dressing on every like turkey hoagie.
Your arteries.
For the like years after that. So it was like that. Like once you then grow up past a pencil, paper, and a dice, you could play, and then you're like, but I really like the mini. Oh, but I do like this, you know, it grows up, right?
I like the sound of Tony's game, how he does the recaps. I like how we do the minis and some of the stuff in the Google Doc, the way you've been sharing the Google Doc stories in Dragonlance. And there's all
I love that.
Just little pieces you can add to your thing there. But
I am putting that together, just so you guys know, because these things are so again, just to say so you guys are caught up with us here. In the Dragonlance campaign, I have taken the narrative side quest idea that we started to talk about in Curse of Strahd with Hawk, generally, where Tony and I first started playing with it, and we did an article about it.
Yep.
A while back. I decided, because I loved it, I said, Dragonlance, I'm doing it for every player, the whole campaign, which is crazy. But there was a lot to start. There was a lot that like the adventure already kind of front loaded for me, and I wanted to get this stuff out. And I have players, you two included, obviously, that are super into it and back and forth and back and forth. But dude, I have such massive Google Docs now for each player. I'm gonna put them together with like the songs. I'm gonna like create the chronicles, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna like self-publish it or something, dude. But like the level of side story, when you guys are able to see the other people's side stories, you're like, I didn't know this was happening. It's like when you read Darth Plagueis, the novel, and you're like, oh my God, Palpatine.
Not a lot of people know the tragedy of Darth Plagueis.
Yeah, jeez. But anyway, sorry, side note there.
But when someone asks me a question about something that happened in the previous session, I'm like, okay, that's an obscure question. What was the innkeeper's name? Okay, open up last game session, Control F, Nick. It was Nick the bartender. That's it. Versus me digging through a notebook versus me trying to find the other notebook. Because, you know, you can't contain it to one notebook. It's usually 2 notebooks. Maybe it's 3 at this point. There's no lag.
I have my 3-ring binder that I keep session notes from 0 onwards. And then as I'm writing on them, I can go back and remember who those persons were. But yeah, you get 30 sessions deep, you might have to go back for a while before you find out who the hell the innkeeper was at that one spot you guys
or who gave him that clue, or where they got that ring,
No, I think good organization of your session notes like that, too, so that you can look back at sessions and have some level of like being able to look back at something and it's not just a complete mess there.
Like, for example, I threw out them like, hey, guys, about how much treasure do you have? I guarantee you I'm going to have to go back in the session notes and start adding it up, but it's all there.
I think a little side piece, but I think we should probably think about going in, because that's something I want to delve into more, because it's something we've all now experienced several times with the...
Effed up treasure tables?
With treasure.
How much we have?
Trying to... Because as a DM, right, you throw it out there, and you go, okay, this is out there. And much like Theater of the Mind, everyone is, because one person is maybe trying to be the main collector, but then other people are like, oh, I broke it up in my head, so I took, you know, and it's like, you know, how maybe, yeah, look in the future, guys. Maybe we'll be talking again. We'll have the RPG economics part 2.
I mean, treasure tracking and those kind of things. Is it the DM responsibility, or is it really the player's
It's the players, yeah.
Once you've delivered it, like leveling and stuff. Like,
when Tony,
this time,
the importance for it, for like Tony, for instance, is what he's doing, which he did in Storm Kings, and he's starting to build up in Ragnarok, from what I'm guessing, is he has built out the treasure, and then he's going to place things in front of you where you can actually use that
to buy things of value that help you in the game.
He's trying to get a sense of where are you. Where for my games, as you guys all will passive aggressively often say, even Scott now starts to, where like, you find whatever. Yeah, good.
I got a magic shield, bitches. Suck it. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
You did have that at like level 1 though, so that's pretty sweet, right?
Seems to be them. What can I say?
No, I think that having those magic items that can grow with the players or have something like that are good to have back there too. Something that I can give you that isn't. It's like the gift, right? You always want to be surprised by your gift, but sometimes you want that input from the guy, and I'm going to get you the perfect thing. And I think sometimes magic items and stuff like that can give you a little bit of that. You can give them something that isn't 100 gold pieces. Maybe it's that you seem like you really want a sword. Oh, okay. Here you find a magic weapon that can be a sword or a hammer or something like that.
Unless you have done what we did, which is now create this ongoing Iron Chapter mercenary group idea, where then it's like the only thing you now care about is literally like, how much gold can I find? Because I want to fund this crazy mercenary group idea I have, right? So it's like, just keep giving. We're just like gold everywhere. Where's the gold? You got gold? What are you going to pay us? You know? Like, I don't care about magic items now.
OSR is pretty heavy on the gold. I will say that.
Also, a little aside, too. Is it just me, or is it strange that I have now run 2 pretty high fantasy adventures, and both of them are wildly low magic, right? Is this just me, or is it like, especially Dragonlance, like they're surprisingly low magic, which makes sense, but at the same point, you're in this high fantasy setting, right?
I think it's easier for you to contain the world when there's less things like that given, but I'm not a fan of it.
I think that they matter more than too.
Well, there is a thing, like for the Lord of the Rings thing, right? But like they keep it intentionally magic free because it would provide you with more of an experience as if you were someone traveling through Middle Earth. Wizards were weird and rare. In 5e, not so much.
Yeah.
Right? But I think there is something like that. As long as you're finding things, I mean, there are still wizards and everything in these low magic campaigns that are getting spells every level and stuff like that. So I think there's something, you can have really high magic, low magic. I mean, I think as long as it's fun, but it's, I'm going to test the limits of low magic with the Lord of the Rings campaign.
But I mean, if like, as we're talking about, because Chris is gearing up to jump in on running the
Middle Earth,
the Lord of the Rings role playing, which they took it off the One Ring and then updated it to 5e.
Yeah, freely.
You guys have probably all seen it on the socials. They're doing a lot of advertising for it, but yeah, you have for a setting like that, it's the ultimate high fantasy. But that's actually a good point. High fantasy does not mean high magic. It means it is a different world with different rules where magic probably exists. That doesn't mean you all have access to it, because when they found Glamdring and Sting, that's some of the only magical stuff outside of the One Ring itself that's in this world that we're aware of, right? Outside of the elves, right? So
back to what you were saying earlier about, is it the DM's job to track treasure? Not exactly, but it can easily become the DM's problem. And one of my banes surrounding this is I throw out treasure, somebody's a treasure keeper, and they said they wrote it down in their book, and arguing against what someone wrote down in their book is like arguing with a wall. They're like, and I know people on my father's grave have written shit down wrong, and they're like, no, it's in my book, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, go kick rocks. I know what's in the module, and
it's in my notebook that I wrote in pencil.
You did, So, the Holy Avenger must have cloned. Okay, you both have it then, right? It just divided like an amoeba.
Sure, we found 2.
Clearly, there was dual wielding paladin, and we both have one now. But because it's your problem, then someone else would write that down in their treasure. Like, oh, we got this. My cut's 200 gold pieces, and in the block it's 1,000 gold pieces in the treasure sheet. And then they divide it, and they're getting paid again. It's like, this isn't like a corporate tax loophole. Like, I just want to have accurate money. But your treasure should matter. What you could use for that is to give your characters low-level rewards to fill in their stats. So the best stuff you should find. You shouldn't get the Holy Avenger in, the shop. Okay, in Storm King's Thunder, I kind of did that. I did some crazy stuff with the floating sky mall. But even the best stuff was in the field.
Yeah, that was a little different. But regardless, we're way off on a tangent here, and it's probably getting around that time now.
Final thoughts?
It is final thoughts. What I'm going to do before we start final thoughts, though, I'm going to say one thing you need behind your DM screen are dice. So...
The hell with electronic dice?
Yeah, no, that's BS. I think that they're...
Too balanced.
Yeah, they wildly replicate too many things. But you guys know, we say it each week, but we have an affiliate link with FanRoll Dice that you can go. So go to fanrolldice.com/REF/2871. You go there, you're going to get 10% off all your purchases. I will say, be careful with these silicone dice that they're selling because those fuckers bounce into some 20s like you wouldn't believe. I'm not complaining. Yeah, I have banned them from Tony using them at the table, but you don't have to tell your players or DM about that if you just bring them to the sesh. But anyway, so final thoughts here. Back to behind the screen, kind of just what your thoughts are, but also maybe something that you didn't say that you would like to have behind the screen or do have behind the screen.
Everything I have behind the screen are things that add a little bit of polish to the module. So you could know what's going on, but those things like having extra names or lore, that really gives a feeling like your world is expansive and rich. And someone says something unexpected, like, hey, I do want to check out more of this town. Well, guess what? It's here. Let me go into my name bank. I've got somebody. Let me go into my encounter back. I've got an encounter. And you did something, and here's treasure. It may not be something that's going to tip the scales, but you deserve a reward for doing something and trying your idea out, because part of the fun is I don't know how you're going to solve the problem I've put out there.
I'd say same thing. Make sure you have the stuff that you want to add to spice up your existing adventure there, right? But
Making me hungry.
But also, I mean, it's behind your screens. Like, watch movies that interest you and provide you with ideas. Read books. Consume other source things, and bring that with you, because you're going to, no matter what you have in your notes or everything, you're going to be describing things. You're going to have to provide some level of DM kind of things there, and that stuff is just good stuff to have with you when you get to the table. It's kind of up there in your head, besides what you already have physically on the table. So
there you go. Excellent. For me, final thoughts are what's behind the DM screen. Well, the first thing is your DM screen. I like the physical DM screen. I like the nostalgia of it, but I like what it offers too, not just hiding things, but also putting stuff up, because I will oftentimes have something up there talking about maybe all the conditions, so I remember what they all are. NPC names, I have used a lot of those. Again, it depends on what campaign I'm running. I'll use different things. I like to have my pawns or minis back there if I'm not wrangling them, so that I know where they are and I can place them out. I like to have my session notes and my campaign binder that tell me what's happening in the session, and if we have to go back somewhere, I have it right there. Obviously, your pencils, dice, if you're using battle mats, stuff like that. One thing I didn't talk about, though, that I have started to use more is I have my stack of index cards back there, and that is something that I can write. I've started to use it to write notes to players. I've used it to write magic items or additional things that they've acquired that I can easily write down, boom, 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 and hand over to them at the table. So that's just something that's real easy that you can get at the dollar store. So, but yeah, I think that's it. This is a good one.
Solid.
This was a good one, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you again at home. And as we do each week, we are going to let our dear old erstwhile leader take us out.
All of you listening at home, thanks again for joining us for another episode of Three Wise DMs. Again, if you have any questions you'd like to hear us talk about, please send them over to threewisedms@gmail.com or go to our website and pop them in the What's Your Problem field. If you like what you're hearing, please give us a 5-star rating in the podcast platform you're using. Leave us a good review. Tell your friends. We've been growing by leaps and bounds, and that's really because of your support. So thank you so much for doing that. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on Three Wise DMs.